You're listening the day after Father's Day. So shout out all my gals with dead dads.
Mine's not dead, so just pointing that out.
The beginning of mental health work is unpacking your parents as humans.
It's really easy for us to be like, they did this to me and they did that to me, or they didn't show me enough love in this way. At the end of the day, we usually show people the love that we wish we had.
Wanting to become a mom myself, it's gonna be inevitable that I project and fuck up. Everyone thinks I have daddy issues because my dad died, and it's like, no, I got beef with the one that's still here, baby. I got mommy issues. The way my mom explains her side of the story, and if I was her, probably would have done the exact same thing.
Great, I have to pee. Whatever.
Oh, go. We haven't even
No.
started.
It's okay. It'll keep me on my toes.
Okay, I'll chug my coffee so that I also have to pee out of camaraderie.
Thank you. Welcome to Thoughts May Vary, where we all
Where
have
we
to
do
pee at the
anything
same
for the
time.
bit. How are you?
I'm good. I'm
How
feeling
the hell
sore.
are you? Sore?
Yeah, I've been working out.
Oh my
I
gosh,
lift
can't
now.
relate to that.
By I lift, I'm lifting 10 pounds, but like we're trying to get strong.
That's very Elisa of you. I'm proud of you.
I need to
Yeah,
build muscle and I like need to let
same.
off some steam because I've been in a horrible
Yeah.
mood.
I know. I did text Gabby recently and said, anything sparking joy yet? And you very quickly were like, absolutely fucking not.
No, we're starting to
Which
turn a
is
corner.
okay.
We'll see.
And
Anyway,
even if you weren't, 'tis the season. You know what I mean? Like summertime sadness is so real for me. We all know summer is like my big trauma season. So like I fully reserve the right to be Aaron and I have been making jokes about how every day after work this week I've just been in a bad mood. And I'm just really embodying brat summer like to the next level.
I mean, you're already a brat, so like how much
I'm
more can we?
already a brat and I just am just in a bad mood. But then he makes me laugh and gets me over it. So
Why is it your season of trauma? Tell the people because it has to do with our episode today.
oh boy, does it. Well, if you're listening to this in real time, congratulations. Extra brownie points for you for being a real TMV girly in the most gender inclusive way possible. And that means you're listening the day after Father's Day. So shout out
Hi.
all my gals with dead dads because my dad died in the summer. And he also so he had an accident and was in the ICU for 55 days before dying. So like summer is living in the hospital before my dad died, my brother's countless suicide attempts, my grandma died. It's all the good juicy stuff happened in the
All the
summer
stuff
for
for the
me.
buck just happened in the
Uh-huh.
summer.
Uh-huh. You know, I will say though, was it last summer? If you listen to the show, you probably know better than I do, but I think I used to have nightmares all summer long every summer
Yeah.
up until either last year or the year before. And I do really think it's in part thanks to this space and
Oh,
like the weekly check-ins we do and the constant unpacking. I really do. But anyway, so in honor of dead dads everywhere, we we've been
mine's
actually
not
wanting
dead,
to talk about
so
this.
just pointing
Yours
that
is
out.
but he loves to bring up how close he is to death for the
I mean, like,
past
I
25
really
years.
hope he's not, but my whole life, he's been
For
fucking
20
clear
years,
about
he's
it.
been dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom says that all the time. Every time he has a health
So
scare and I call my
funny.
mom really upset, she goes, "Gabby, he's been dying for 30 years.
No, he really has,
Like,
and
let it go."
it's so
Yeah.
funny of him, honestly. But this is something we've been wanting to talk about for a long time in general because it is such the crux or like the beginning of mental health work is unpacking your parents as humans. And so we've been wanting to kind of like have one episode to dive into this. We've touched on this, sure, but what a more apropos day to do it. Are you going to call your dad for Father's Day? How are you feeling
Yeah.
about it? I know everyone has mixed
I
feelings
won't
about
lie.
mothers and Father's
I don't
Day.
feel any type of way about Father's Day. Like,
Oh, cool.
I'm not gonna do it for the tea. Like, I don't. I've never
Yeah.
felt any type of way about Mother's Day or Father's Day. I'm very lucky that both my parents are present in my life and they're both around and, to varying degrees, and we can get into it, but I'm at peace with what my dynamics are with both of my parents, which we'll dive into in this episode. But yeah, I don't feel any type of way about Father's Day, but that said, I do know that it holds a whole hell of a lot of weight for a lot of people, Mother's Day,
Mhm.
Father's Day, and I wanna hold space for that and acknowledge that
Yeah.
because I know that it can be a tricky time that brings up a bunch of feelings, and not even for people that, like, have lost their parents or don't have a relationship with them, but even the ones that are like, if someone's trying to conceive,
Totally.
in that process, I think there's just so much that can come around it.
I used to feel stickier about the day, of course, like in the more beginning stages of grief, and I think now it's morphed a little bit more for me to, 1, just be excited for friends that either need the support that day or are parents themselves now,
Mhm,
and 2, I don't know, it's really I think now, like, any I'm at the phase in grief where, like, any good old excuse to think about my dad or talk about my dad or bring it up and have it be publicly acceptable or, like, on people's minds is now kind of fun. Because in this whole getting to understand your parents as humans, something about losing your parents earlier, I know it's different for everyone, obviously, and what age it happens to you, but I didn't really get that experience with my dad. I
mhm.
kind of have after the fact, but he's still, like, on a pedestal for me in, like, a really beautiful way. Like, if your dad is
What do
gonna
you mean? Wait, what
die.
do you sorry, go back because I have 2 questions about unclosed open loops. Number 1, what do you mean now that it's socially acceptable? You mean to, like, talk about grief more openly?
Oh, yeah, or just, like, not no one really wants to hear about your dead dad, but on Father's Day when everyone's talking about their dads, you're
Got
gonna
it.
have to emotionally bit and listen to me, and so that's kinda fun.
Right, got it. Okay, and then number 2, what do you mean by you never really got that with your dad?
So, I was 17 when my dad died, and I feel
Mhm.
like I was just kind of getting to know him as a human,
Okay, I see.
and yet I was still so young that the way in which I have a relationship with my mother now, like, I didn't get that with him at
Okay,
all.
got it.
So
Mhm,
every year that goes past, it's more and more clear to me how much he'll always be this, like, on a pedestal, beautiful father figure that, like, you can't really pop my bubble with it, and so
mhm,
that's what I mean, like, if he has to go, like, how beautiful that I have such a, like, reverence for who he was still, and I'm not
mhm.
saying getting to know them completely shifts or change that, I just think in terms of finding the light in grief, it's a really nice dynamic that I still kind of love having, and I have siblings that don't have that, right? I have siblings that are way older than me that got to know him more intimately and at a way different time in his life when he was far more different, and we can get into all the details of that, but I kind of love that. It's kind of fun to have, like, a superhero angel on the other side still.
I mean, listen, 17 is that sort of age where, like, you start to think about you start to c listen, kids are so fucking narcissistic and selfish, and of course you are, like, you're a little kid, your whole world revolves around you, your parents are doing everything for you, and so I think 17, 18 is around that age where you start to see a little bit
Mhm.
beyond and then, like, a little bit, because I think it took me a lot longer to be like, "Oh, you guys are people
Right.
with your whole other own story," but I think that is that age where it's like you start to sort of
And what was fun, and I know the exact moment that that hit me deeply for the first time ever, and it was my dad's funeral. Because the
mm,
stories that came out of my dad's funeral,
wild.
so, like, no, literally for the book, so fucking good, so cool, like, kicked out of the Cayman Islands for hiding money and getting the FBI agents to do the black market vodka. There's, like, this whole thing, and it's so funny and so cool, and I remember sitting there like, "Oh my god, he would have never told me this," and now I get all the tea and, like, how fun it was that moment of, "Oh, I'll still be able to get to know him." Like, there
Yeah.
will be a relationship even on the other side, so it's that dynamic of, like, protecting that bubble and having that beautiful, safe, like, pedestal, and yet I'll continue to get to know him too.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you have a first moment
Where I'm like, "They're
that's
people?"
yeah, where it hits deeply because it is a slow burn. It was a slow burn for me too, so I agree, but do you
I
have,
mean,
like, a
what the
poignant
what do
memory?
you think I'm gonna say?
Oh, take cheers.
I mean, duh, Hoffman, hello. The whole
Mhm.
point about it is, like, recognizing your parents as humans. But, yeah, so I was 22,
Yeah.
and, yeah, I think we did this exercise there where we had to write a dialogue. I don't wanna give away too much, but basically, you just, like, had to have a conversation with your parents.
Mhm.
And I remember being really frustrated because they were like, "Ask questions." And I was like, "Well, I'm not talking to anyone. Like, I'm not gonna get an answer." And they were like, "Just write whatever comes to you." And so you start having this dialogue back and forth. Obviously, it's, like, not your parents, it's, like,
Mhm.
this idea, but it brought so much closure around a lot of stuff, and I think for me,
Mm.
what I got most out of that exercise was it did not matter if the answers that I came up with were true or not. It allowed me to have a sense of resolve over the fact that they did their best and it happened. And now we're get the chance to move on, and we get the chance to,
Mhm.
if we so choose, to have a new slate and, like, move forward with the new knowing that we're all doing our best. We all come with our set of shit. They had vastly different realities and upbringings than I did.
Mhm.
And, like, how cool that we all get to be alive and around for each other now as adults and, like, get to figure out what we want our dynamic to look like now. I think that's what I got the most out of that specific exercise was, like, it doesn't really matter. I think about it similar to, like, over intellectualizing your feelings. Like, it doesn't really
Yes.
matter why the thing happened. It happened. So, like, what are we gonna do with it moving forward? I think, like,
I
that also that sense of understanding to obviously, to a degree, having the why is helpful because it allows you to have a different level of empathy for people, and I think when you
mm,
start to have empathy for your parents, that is really that I think is, like, the catalyst to seeing them as, 360 people.
yeah. I couldn't agree more, and I love that you bring that up because when thinking about how it shifted my relationship with my parent that's still alive, so with my
Mhm.
mom, I love that you say, like, it doesn't matter if it's true or not because children, we don't get context, right? Like, we
Mhm,
think in black and white, our subconscious absorbs things in ways that contextually doesn't make sense and frankly, like, might not be true.
mhm,
So the healing you can give yourself for that on your own looks different than with your parents. So, like, for example, things I've healed in like a TBM meditation where they ask you to bring your magnetic carrot in or
mhm,
whatever. The situation that I've unpacked was so deeply real to me in my memory and my perspective as a child. Later on, talking about that with my mom now, a lot of it was like our move, our first big move we did and the kind of dynamics around that. Later on, talking to my mom about it, like my God, was my understanding of it so wrong, which of fucking course I
mhm.
was 7.
Yeah,
So of course it was, but it doesn't negate the fact that the healing I needed to be different to speak to the child I was that experienced the thing.
right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
Yeah, so I love that you bring how okay, so how has it shifted your relationship? Because this is something we've talked about in, like, older episodes. Like, I remember
Yeah.
season 1, Gabby would speak a lot to how you were approaching family dynamics in a new way for the past couple years, you know what I mean?
I think that look, when I did Hoffman, I think like a lot of young people, I was really entitled to everything from my parents
Mm,
in the sense of like, how dare you not do even better in this department? And how dare you not be the most, XYZ thing and give me all of this when you were able to give me all of that? Like, why? But I wanted it's always like, you got one, you didn't get that much of the other, or like, and of course, I always wanna, like, respect the privacy of my parents, and but I think that, like, the coolest thing that I got out of all of that was to let go of that entitlement, I think,
mm,
and to just be like, again, they did their absolute best. I'm grateful for them, and I also now have a new set of expectations where I
mm,
have a better understanding of who they are as people. In Elisa Vitti's episode, she was like, well, in part 2, we were talking about doctors, and she was like, "Don't get caught up getting disappointed when you know that your doctor can't provide something for you. They have limited resources. It's why you outsource to certain specialists and whatever." I think
mhm,
about that similarly, where I'm like, "Okay, I know what you're able to give me. I'm not trying to change you anymore."
mm,
Obviously, I've tried to have conversations to, like, you know, open up more emotional conversations and things like that, and, like, I'm all for that, but for the most part, like, I'm pretty aware of, like, my parents' scope,
mhm,
and I'm not trying to change it because like, I love them as people, so I'll meet them there, and I think the work was letting go of whatever, quote, unquote, like, "hurt" would come from what they wouldn't be able to give me, and then I
mhm,
realized that I had to find that within myself instead of trying to outsource it in men, in
mhm.
friendships, because that is just one slippery slope when you start to expect the things that you wish you had from your parents from a partner. I think there's a fine line between like
Done that.
searching for qualities
Mhm,
in somebody But I think when you, like, expect them to act like a parent, it's very different, which is so I don't know if we'll keep this in, but, like, an ex said that to me one time. You remember this. Like, it hurt me
Mhm.
to my core where he was like, "You" when we were breaking up, he was like, "You expected me to love you like a parent." And I remember it shattered me because I couldn't disseminate whether or not he was right because I was like, "I don't think you are. I think you just don't know how to give."
Mhm.
And I think you used something that I expressed to you
As a
and
weapon.
as a weapon,
Mhm.
but it's always stayed with me
Yeah.
where I'm
Yeah.
like, "Did
'Cause he knew where
I?"
to, you
I don't
know?
think I did, but
I don't think you did either.
yeah, to be fair, I don't think I did. I just don't think he had, like, an emotional bone in his body.
Right.
Neither here nor there. But yeah, I think that's the coolest lesson that I've gotten. It's like, they're people, they have their own stories too. I'm not gonna be upset by what I can't I'm, like, very black and white with that. I'm like, "I know what you can give me, and I know what your capabilities are, and, like, I'm cool with it." And then
Mhm.
also, by the way, like and then I wanna ask you the same question, like, now I'm at a point where I'm just like, I wanna know everything. I interviewed
Yeah.
my mom for my newsletter, and that was I had never asked her
So cool.
questions like that. My dad, like, had a lot of health scares over the last year, and when I was home with him, like, I would record some of our conversations, and I always would roll my eyes at the fact that my dad tells the same 35 stories over and over and over again, but now I'm like, I really wanna remember them and, like, ask him deeper questions about the stories that he's not telling me. Like, what are
Right?
you excluding from that? And so,
Exactly.
that is, like, the cool shit, and especially with my mom, she really gets, like, lit up when I ask her stuff about herself. Because I think parents are
Oh.
so conditioned to just be, like, taking care of us that for us to be like, "How
Yeah.
are you?" and, like, "What's going on?" and, like, "Are you okay?" and, like, "Da, da, da, da." They're, like, excited. They're
No,
like,
of
"Finally."
course. It's about time. Like, I've been
Yeah.
waiting with these stories.
What you and your mom have had, like, a really interesting dynamic
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're
Well,
like,
I
"You guys are
feel
friends."
I mean, I feel very similarly to you. So, I guess we'll get into our relationship with our dads more specifically after this because I think that will be fun for Father's Day. But my dad was really my parent and my mom was really my brother's parent. Just because my
Wow.
brother was going
Yeah.
through a lot of stuff growing up and
Mhm.
my mom really knew how to champion that as an educator and like be in IEP meetings and like really help support him. And I'll get into some fun storytelling after because I do want to hear about like us and our dads too. But when I felt like my parent died and I felt like my mom was always my friend,
Mm.
there was a lot of not only reparenting myself, but resenting my mom for not being the parent I wanted her to be to me and seeing the dynamics like through childhood play out and then all of a sudden like forced into adulthood in this new way through my grief. And I
Mhm.
would fight her a lot about that all through college in my early 20s. And then I had that similar reckoning of you as you, which I feel like is pretty damn universal of that starting to learn how to give things to yourself and not seek it in your other relationships like a partner or like a codependent best friend, which
And
I've
then
done
not be
both.
resentful when, like, the parent can't give it to you.
Exactly. And then the past like 5 years now, 7 years now probably, because a similar timing with Erin coming into my life, learning to just meet her where she's at and love her for where she's at and put new context to the way I view her. I know I've shared on here before that time that Erin called, she was like, "Your mom's just a hot girl from the '60s." Like, I don't know what to tell you. And that
Mhm.
shifted my whole perspective. But so having these little shifts and loving her and meeting her where she's at and not asking her to give me what I was looking for and what I thought I wasn't getting,
Mhm.
one has freed us and made us so much closer recently.
Yeah.
And so much so that even I'm talking like 2 months ago, I opened up to her about a core wound from that 7-year-old perspective with the understanding and the notion of like, this won't this might hurt for you to hear, and I want you to know I understand the nuance in this situation now. However, in the POV of my 7-year-old self without understanding context in black and white, this is how I took these dynamics. And I
Right.
know that's not what you mean, but there's a part of me that like can hear you say certain things or if like if you find that I'm being bitchy about something, it triggers this wound like and so we just have had these conversations more recently because the expectation for her to give the thing whatever the core wound is, it to me has been relinquished for so many years that now I'm in a space to bring it up and learn her side of the story and for her
Mm,
to learn mine and for us to hold space for each other. And she called me back 2 days later and we kept talking. Like, it has been so beautiful to unpack. And I think the reason why I've really felt safe to do it now, long after the relinquishing of asking her for the thing, is like wanting to become a mom myself. And
yeah.
so learning, like, it's going to be inevitable that I project and fuck up and do things because the way my mom explains her side of the story, I 100% see how much that was her best choice with the access to the information she have. And if I was her, probably would have done the exact same thing.
Mhm.
And she can also hold space for the fact that that's true and still impacted me negatively. And that is
That's the key.
such a gift to have that conversation together and unpack it over and
Yeah.
over.
That is the key though, because it's like it's really easy for us to be like, they did this to me and they did that to me
Mhm.
and this fucked me up or they didn't show me enough love in this way or I didn't get enough emotional attention. And it's like, you're right. Put yourself in their shoes, in their exact situation,
Mhm.
with their exact upbringing. And
The
realistically,
way
like
the world
we
was at that point in time, what access to information they had, who was raising them and how, the whole thing.
and also at the end of the day, we usually show people the love that we wish we had. And
Yeah.
so if they didn't receive something as a child, that's usually what they're gonna bombard their children with because
Mhm.
they think in their brain that that is the
That was the missing piece.
pinnacle of love.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When in reality, it might not be, it might be a large percentage of what the child needs, but it might not be what, like, their little being actually
Mhm.
wants. And
Mhm.
so but then it's like, how the fuck are you supposed to know that with your
Right.
parent? So that's
Right.
why it's like you have to, I had to release so much anger, and for me it was very specific because, like, my mom was really my primary caretaker, and, like, I'm always like she was a single mom, even though, like, she technically wasn't because she remarried shortly
Right.
after her and my father divorced, but my even so, like, my stepdad has always been an incredibly respectful stepdad where, like, he always went through my mom to, like if he had an
Mhm.
issue with one of us, like, he'd go through my mother, so it was always, like
Right.
my mom was always the decision maker, and so I think that when I did Hoffman, the resentment and the anger was towards her because she was the one that was present.
Mhm. Mhm.
And again, not to say that my dad wasn't present, but it was just really, really different. Like, it was really
Yeah.
different. And
Yeah.
so they're usually the ones that, like, get the brunt of the shit too.
Yeah. It's true. Well, it's funny. I used to say everyone thinks I have daddy issues because my dad died. And it's like, no, I got beef with the one that's still here, baby. I got mommy
Yeah.
issues, like, but
Yeah.
speaking of that, and speaking of now really finding joy in these days, because you have to listen to me talk about my dead dad, let's talk about our dads. Because
Oh my
I
god.
love your dad.
I feel like they would have loved each other.
Oh my God. Our dads are so similar in like the funniest fucking ways. And it makes so, like, we are so the daughters of our fathers. And like, the,
Don't his emails
so
make
many of
more
the
sense?
things, no, I mean, so many of
Yeah.
the things that you and I bond over and feel like our overlap is, I feel like are so our fathers.
Hey everyone, popping in to say thank you to all of the amazing people who listen and watch this podcast. We're so grateful for each and every one of you and truly cannot say thank you enough for tuning in every single week.
In order for us to keep bringing you all great conversations and continue building our community and raising the bar, we're asking you for some simple and free support. Subscribe to our channel, follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, and keep up with us on social at Thoughts May Vary Pod.
And if you're looking to dive even deeper, you can join our exclusive Patreon community and download Co-Create, our digital manifestation journal filled with over 150 prompts to help guide your curiosity and unlock new layers of yourself.
Thanks for being here.
It's so funny because growing up, I think I was always closer with my dad and my sister was closer with my mom.
Mm,
And it was certain personality traits that they would, like, attribute as to why. And
yeah.
so then seeing it then when I'm older is so funny.
Oh my God, it's so fun.
But yeah, and also if you're a new listener, both of Meadow and I, like, our dad we had old dads.
Yeah. Oh boy, did we. So like I said, my dad died when I was 17. He was 73. My dad was
He
born
lived a
in
great life.
1939.
Yeah.
Okay. My
Yeah,
sister was 25 years older than me. So like
yeah.
he had had the whole family thing long before. Like we both bond by old dads. There's a
Yeah.
lot of similarities that come with that, that
I mean,
generation.
Yeah, like, I always tell my dad, I'm like, "So what made you wanna pop out another? Because what the fuck? Like, hello?"
Literally, what the
My dad
fuck?
had me when he was 7 when he was sorry, 70. My dad had me when he was 50.
Yeah,
So, he was born in '45, had
yeah,
already I have 2 half brothers from, like, my his first marriage.
mhm,
So my oldest brother is, like, 30 years older than me,
yeah,
and then my other brother, yeah, is, like, a solid, like, 25 years older than me. And then my sister is 3 years older than me, but that's, like, same mom, same dad.
which is the exact same as me because I had
Yeah.
technically 3, 2 brothers died, 1 sister's still alive of older, and then I have I'm your sister and you're my brother, like, the 2
Mhm,
years behind.
mhm,
It's
yeah.
so fun.
It's so fun, but then I'm always like we would just hang like, that was the thing. I just think at that age, like, especially once they got divorced, I'm like, "What do you really have the capacity for?" Because I think you have the capacity for us to, like, hang out, and, like, that's about it, you know? So, like, I feel like the parenting was, like, mother, and then, like, I got to, like, hang out at my dad's house, like, on the
Mm.
weekends.
I got, like, a
Um,
really good version of that because to me, it's like their courtship was so long, and he had already raised kids, and so they traveled the whole world together and did this
yeah.
and that, and so I used to resent him because 'cause I'm like, "We didn't fucking go anywhere or do anything," but they had nothing they wanted to do, no FOMO whatsoever because 'cause they've done everything in the world that, like, there was nothing to do but sit around and raise us.
Yeah,
So it worked out really well
yeah,
till he died.
right. They how dare he? I mean,
I know, honestly.
yeah, because I mean, my dad was they I was 7 when they got divorced, so I was also really young, like, that was the majority of my upbringing was, like, the separate
Yeah.
households. But yeah, I think our dads, like, both are just from the stories that I've heard, I mean, just so unbelievably politically incorrect. Like,
Oh god.
mortified. I told him I warned Meadow met him, and I was like, I'm so like, just prepare yourself. Don't take anything too seriously. Different generation.
And I was
Love
like,
him.
"Babe, I'm gonna thrive. Like, this is what I've
Yeah.
been waiting for my old dad to come back. Like, please."
Sends me the funniest emails of all time. He's where I get my writing
Oh
from.
god. I'm telling you, if if you ever put one of those emails in the book, everyone is just gonna laugh so hard because your writing voices are, 1, just the way you talk, and 2,
Aren't they similar?
so no, you write like your father, like, the exact same.
That makes me
The
really
exact
happy.
same.
He just uses
Oh god,
way
they're
bigger
so
words than
good.
I do, but he's also very sarcastic and funny and
The voice
hilarious
though,
and
the tone
dramatic.
and the voice of the writing is so similar, like,
Like,
intellectual and funny and quippy and, like, sharp and smart. It's just it's so good. It's
the
so
other day, my
good.
sister was like, "You know, it's a good email when you have to Google all the words that he's using," and I'm like, "No, truly."
Literally.
He's just
Yeah.
dramatic, so he sends, like, these long, long, long emails and CCs everybody we've ever known, and, like,
And you
I
just
could just
speak
hear him,
yours
like,
out loud into a
giggling.
podcast.
Yeah, I just hear him, like, giggling. "Whatever, Meadow." I
Truly.
not me, I'm like he just to everyone on the internet, I'm like, "I have a Substack, I have a podcast, I also have a YouTube channel and a TikTok account and an Instagram." I'm just like, "Who wants to listen to me fucking talk?" I don't know where I got it from.
It's so funny. It's so true.
Tells
Yeah,
about the
it's funny.
quality of your dad.
The fun differences there is, like, obviously, my parents were together till he died, but, like, my dad was my soulmate. Like, my
Mm,
dad was my first as we said, he was in such a different place in his life when he raised my older siblings, and then when him and my mom got together, they didn't know she was pregnant with me till she was 5 months pregnant, like, did not want
wild.
kids, didn't wanna be involved, was pissed, whatever. They send him home from the hospital. My mom gives birth because they literally send him home. He comes to meet me in a three-piece suit and a witch from our little local bodega shop because I was right around the corner from Halloween, which I realized the other day how appropriate that the first gift I ever got was a stuffed witch. Like,
Yeah.
really adds up for me, right?
Mhm.
And he literally everyone in my family would just reiterate it my whole childhood. Like, he saw me and everything changed, and, like, he made my
Aw.
mom drive home from the hospital so he could hold me in the back seat, and there's just photos of us falling in love, and I think a part of it is my dad's firstborn son was my older brother, Sean, who died in a car accident when he was 4,
Mhm.
5, and I look so much like him when I was
Yeah.
born, like, as an infant, like, spitting fucking image as an infant.
Wow.
And so I think something about the time in his life where he was at and how I looked and how that came through was just like I really feel like something about my birth just like turned a fresh page
For
for him.
sure. It
My
absolutely
dad
did.
got sober because of me. My
Wow.
dad like changed his like every I grew up my whole life with everyone in my family saying like you changed your dad's life. And so we were thick as fucking thieves. And so that's why I was like even if he'd had to die and it had to be when I was young, I would never trade that for any other dad in the world.
You got the best time.
I had the time of my fucking life.
What
Time of
are
my fucking
things that now that you're thinking about becoming a mom, things that you
Mm.
had as a child from either parent, whether it's like a disciplinary thing or like a fun
Oh.
tradition that you wanna implement with your own
Oh my
family?
god, that's such a good question. I feel like I have so many. Okay, immediately, first things first, like, my parents could give a fuck what other people think.
Mm,
Like, old dad, been everywhere, done anything, mom with the pink hair and the
yeah,
eccentricism, like, my parents were so, like, you try everything, you figure out your own interests, and it was like the Girl Scout try, whether it was food or sports or activities, like, you gotta give everything a try and figure out your own niche, but fuck what everyone else thinks and, like, find what lights you up.
I love that.
They did that in a really cool way. There's also small things like you have to bring 3 things to say to the kitchen table. Like,
Mhm.
you gotta come with 3 stories of the day or, like, 3 something you learned about or, like, 3 things to bring to the kitchen table. My other family would always do lox and bagel Sundays. That was really fun. There's so much about what they did that was so, just, like, letting us figure out what kinda humans we wanted to be.
That's special.
And a lot of independence. Like, I was allowed to go my joke, my mom would always drop me off at school and be like, "Bye, honey, do lots of drugs and have lots of sex."
Yeah.
But, like, it was real. They were very much like, "Be a kid, do whatever you want, just communicate with us." Like, "Go to a
Mhm,
party, but never get in the car with someone that's drinking. If you need to call us to pick you up, we will never be mad." But so
mhm.
I had so many freedoms in a way that allowed me to, like, explore my youth in a healthy way and not overdo it and feel like I had a safety and a place to go to. Like, that balance that they struck was fucking genius,
Yeah.
and I fully plan on implementing that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
How about you?
I think that's amazing. Similar stuff. I think one of the things that's always stuck with me that my mom's always done was Sundays, like, I don't give a like, friends don't exist. Who are they? Like, Sunday is family day. We would have a barbecue at my house where my stepdad would cook burgers, my mom would cook stuff in the kitchen, my sister it was like we would just chill at the house all day.
Yeah.
We'd go in the pool or, like, whatever, and even if we wanted to fucking kill each other, like, the amount of times I mean, my poor stepdad, he would just he's also, like, slightly losing his hearing, so he would just, like, push back from the dining table because by the end of every Sunday meal, the 3 of us, my sister, my mom, and I, screaming at each other,
Of
top of our
course.
lungs,
Yeah, of course.
screaming, but it didn't matter, every Sunday, we do the same shit. She's like, "I don't
Yeah.
fucking care if you wanna, like, if you literally wanna kill me, you're gonna sit at this table, and we're gonna have
Yeah.
dinner as a family," and I resented it sometimes. I was like, "Why can't I see my friends? My friends can go to a party, na, na, na." And she was, like, such a Latina mom in that way where she was like did not give a fuck. She would, like, throw a flip-flop at me if I, like, tried to leave the fucking
Oh
house.
my god, yeah.
And, like, same thing with dinners. Like, I was allowed to eat. Obviously, if I got home from school and I was hungry, I could have dinner, but I would, like, come home from dance or I would come home from cross country at, like, 5. I would eat, so I was starving, and then I'd go shower, do my homework, but when she got home from work and it wasn't, like, late, like, she would always make an effort to be home for dinner, I would have to sit at the table with her and my stepdad, and that's when I would, like, eat dessert, or I would have, like, dinner round 2 or whatever, but we ate dinner as a family always, and I didn't know that that wasn't a thing. Like, obviously, of course, there are complete different situations of, like, parents have to work and they're not at home and the kids, like, are by
Mhm.
themselves and, like, completely understand different situations of kids growing up, but I never understood it for the families that, like, had the luxury because it's a fucking privilege to be able to do that.
Well, that was me. We didn't do it every night. When we did do it, you had to have something to say, and it was, like, organized, or
Yeah.
we were all gonna eat
I've always
together, but, like,
wondered, I'm like, "What
oh,
would you
no,
do?"
we ate separate, especially because we had such like, me and my mom had such a different diet than my dad and then my brother, and then also I was raised with a sibling that from a young age was having mental health issue like,
Yeah.
we didn't eat together a lot.
Mhm.
So when we did, that's why it was fun to, like I guess, similar to you, I resented it at the time, but now looking back, I love that it was like, "No, you gotta bring 3 things, and what are we gonna talk about?" And we all play
Yeah.
bananagrams at the end and whatever,
But I think I they also gave me the and also such a privilege to, like, be able to afford to be able to do so many extracurricular activities and, like,
Mm,
be like, go do whatever, you want and explore whatever you want, and, like, we can subsidize it is a
mhm.
huge fucking privilege. So I would love to be able to give that to my kids too, to be like, play and, like, figure out, like, what your desires are and, like, what you like
Dude,
to do.
do you know how hard I'm trying to make Zoe and Aaron, like, little league captains?
He won't.
Imagine?
I've asked him the
Ah.
question. So, he won't solely because he's like, "I don't wanna be my kid's coach."
Okay,
He's
Aaron
like,
will
"I
do
wanna
it
be
for
their dad."
everyone. Aaron will do it for the friend group.
Thank you. He'll play catch
Yeah.
with them all fucking
Yeah,
day.
yeah, sure,
But
sure,
he's
sure.
like, "I can't be the coach. Like, I don't wanna get
Okay,
that involved,"
that's
because,
fair.
I mean, he's a fucking former professional baseball player. That man will
Right.
get
No, no, no,
so
that's
fucking
fair.
hyper involved.
That's fair.
What are the qualities
We'll
that
make him do something else. We'll make him do like, Aaron will be
he'll
everyone's,
bring
like,
the
TV
snacks.
football coach. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
He'll bring
yeah.
the good
He'll bring
snacks.
snacks. We'll figure it
Orange
out.
slices.
Yeah, exactly. We'll send him to Erewhon. Anyway, what are some qualities obviously, you and Aaron are married. You're gonna
Mhm,
have a baby. But
mhm.
were there things that you were thinking about in terms of when you were 'cause you weren't even, like, looking, but things that you value in him as a partner that you were like, "These are the things that I saw from my dad that I wanna emulate," and then things that Aaron has that have,
Mm.
like, surpassed that, that he's brought to
Oh
the
my god,
table?
literally everything. Like, I've never met someone with the patience
Oh my god,
for
he's a
me
patient man.
for me? Are you
I know, sweetie, I've met you
my
too.
god. Yeah, and not only me, but then think about, like, the communities he serves.
No, I know. You
Like
wasn't even you weren't my first thought. The community you serve
thank you so much. That
was
means a
my
lot to
first
me,
thought.
honestly.
Between you and Mahal, fucking Aaron's
I
a gem, but
know, I
I was
know.
thinking about, like, his job.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, patience alone, the way he is in fights, like, accountability for everything, even when it's
Mhm.
clearly all my fault, and, like, looking to be a team on the same thing, always try like,
Yeah.
that perspective of constantly being on your team and wanting to solve something together, and, like, he even I think I've shared this on the podcast before, he even constantly talks about how he already knows how he wants to discipline our kids, and there's one of his favorites is, like, if they do something, they have to hold books over their head, but then he has to do it with them to be like, "Look,
Yeah.
now your actions affect me, and I have to do it too."
Oh, I love
He
that, that's so
just,
smart.
like, everything about him. One, I think what's funny? Happy Pride Month because I was thinking about being queer and ending up with a man and
Mhm.
how it does make sense to me in the context of I never felt safer than with my dad, and then when I lost him, there was an underlying level of not having safety my whole life till Aaron. So it does make sense, and I think I'm not to say that I couldn't have found that in, like, a woman or a non-binary person, but it just makes sense to me the way that worked out,
Mhm.
but he just has this, like, fundamental level of, like, safety and a breath of fresh air, the ability to pull like, making jokes about how I'm a brat every single day, and then within 2 seconds, he has me laughing and giggling and moving on to something else, like,
Yeah.
he just is everything about him is, like, the person I wanna raise the next generation with. He's the exact I've said this before, the exact model of a human of if anyone should raise the next generation of human beings and what it means to be a human on this earth, it should be him in that perspective.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh.
100%. I know you feel similarly. Tell me about Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not married. Kids are happening in distant future, but I think, obviously, when I got into another relationship, I was like, you think about that because you
Yeah,
hope that the person you're with, at least not everyone, but, like, I was hoping that the next person I'd be with would be the person that, like, I end up with. So, like,
yeah.
keeping that in mind, like, I looked for those qualities in him because being a parent is so important to me, and I think that I was raised around a lot of machismo, like all
Mm.
Latin people are,
Mhm, mhm.
a whole hell of a lot of toxic masculinity, and I think the really beautiful thing about him is that he has really redefined what masculinity means because he is the most hyper masculine person ever with also a great EQ and, like,
Mhm.
not afraid to tap into his femininity and understands that the power of masculinity is being able to do that dance with your feminine energy and, like,
Exactly.
being able to be vulnerable and soft, but also be a provider that's protector as
Mhm,
well,
mhm.
and he really just, like, is that, and I was I just grew up with a lot of fucking weenie hut junior ass boys
Yeah,
who were just, like,
yeah,
little fucking bitches, and, like,
yeah.
I dated a lot of them
And we
too.
mean that in the way that, like, inaccessible to their feminine,
Like, we're
by the
so
way.
toxic masculine,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
mean, like, we're so toxic masculine, they were, like, just so much machismo embedded in them, so much sexism embedded in them, and then they were fucking bitches, it was like they wouldn't protect you if, like,
Right,
shit hit the fan, like, they'd
right.
run and throw you first, like, it was not
Literally.
great, and he is just such a provider and such a protector and, like, is so good with kids. I think that's the thing too, is,
Oh
like,
my god, he's so cute with kids.
he loves kids and he is I mean he connects with kids on such a cool level and like
Yeah.
knows how to speak to them and like I have to hold this up because it keeps falling. And he's just so fucking good with kids. And that was always something that was like really important to me. And because I love kids, but I think sometimes I can be a little awkward with kids. I'm like, how do I talk to you?
Yeah.
And like
I can see
I
that
like,
for you.
yeah, I'm like, hey, buddy.
You're like, learn some words and then we can have a
Yeah.
discussion.
I'm like, I don't really know what to do. Like babies, I'm cool with. Like, you don't really talk.
Yeah.
It's like
Right. You're gonna be I feel
3
like
to
you're a
9.
great teenage mom.
Yes.
Like preteen
3
and teenage, you got 3 to 9. You're like,
3 to 9,
how
I'm like,
old are you? What's going are
what's
you potty trained?
like,
Like I see
how do
that.
I
Yeah.
talk? Like, are we using our imagination? Like, what are we doing?
Right,
I
right,
think
right, 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 right,
what it
right.
is too is he has like so unabashedly himself that like he'll play pretend with these fucking like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll hang out with his niece and nephew and he's like making funny noises and making funny voices. And I'm like so embarrassed of being embarrassed that it's like hard for me to tap into that. I think when it's my own kid, I'll get over it. And I think it's gonna be
Totally.
really fun to explore that. But yeah, he's just and okay, last thing I will say, because both you and I can talk about this forever. I think what made me like really just like, damn, was and I think people with partners or people that are dating should ask themselves this question. If you popped out a child and they came out exactly like that person, would you be fucking pissed?
Very good question.
And I'll leave it at that. Every other fucking dude I dated, I was mortified, petrified, terrified of having children with them. Him, I'm
Mm.
like, I cannot wait to watch you blossom. Like if they all came out like you, I'd be so
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Can I end on nothing that has to do with anything
yeah.
except for the fact that I was gonna text you this 2 days ago and I forgot, but it's being brought back up to me because my dad always called it the bitchy woman show, so I've never seen it, and 2 days ago, I started watching Gilmore Girls, and I'm having the time of my fucking life, and I know you were a diehard Gilmore Girls girl, and so I just needed you to know, and that was a little bit of me being like, "Let me not think about my dad saying that because oof, rough,
No, but it's
because 'cause I'm
true.
totally loving the show."
Okay, but here's the thing.
I'm like,
An
3
adult,
episodes in, but I'm having the
great.
time of my life.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna fuck it up for you. Being an adult
Oh,
is
okay.
realizing that Lorelai is the fucking worst. You grow up because
Oh.
I watched that show when it was, like, on. I'd, like, come home, it was on
It was
4chan on
always
ABC
on
Family.
after school, and then my
And I'd
dad would
watch
make a
it.
comment, so I'd have to change because 'cause I'd be
Right.
like, "Oh my god."
So, watch it all the time. You grow up thinking she's the coolest mom ever. Rory's the best. No. Growing up
Yeah.
is realizing that Emily is right. Like, Emily is right,
Wow. Okay,
and
I'm excited. She's only
she's
had one
it's
moment where she was,
Lorelai is
like,
so fucking
picked a
inappropriate.
fight about their boob size, and I was like, "Whoa, what was that?"
She's
Because
so
I'm,
annoying.
again, 3 episodes in,
It's the
but
best show ever, and I still rewatch it to this day. I rewatched it 75 times.
yeah.
I'm so excited for you to be able to actually have the conversation with me of who did you think that Rory should have ended up with?
Oh, wow, I have no idea. I don't even it's never even been ruined for
Oh
me,
my
so I'm
god,
very
I'm
excited
so
to
happy for
unpack
you.
this.
Also, like, fall equals Stars Hollow. Like,
No, I know, and
we
I
should go on a
fucking hate
tour.
summer, and I just like to
They
be
have the set
headed
here.
shut up.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Okay,
at
so
Warner
I'll
Brothers
finish
or
it all and we'll
Paramount or
go.
something, but, like, the set is in Los
I'm
Angeles.
always ready to fast forward through the summer and hit fall, so, like, anything to tap into that. So, I'm really loving it, much to my dead father's chagrin.
I'm so happy you're watching Gilmore Girls. It's such a healing show.
Heal that I will say, for hating summer and having a lot of trauma in summer, the way that I was just talking about this in our Mayfair mental health session the other day, the way that I combat that in terms of, like, self-care or self-love, like, summer is only for the inner child. Like, summer is playing mermaids, summer is, like,
Mhm.
mindful coloring books, summer is, like, inner child joy healing, my hot mess good time reading. Like, I'm just here to play.
Yeah, and that can also mean grown-up play. Like, let me shake my ass in a tiny little outfit.
Oh, of course. No, it's brat summer. Like, let's
Mhm,
go out dancing. Let's
mhm.
do something for the book. Let's, take naps guilt-free.
I'm not a
Summer
napper, but, like,
Fridays.
enjoy.
I'm not a napper either, but, like, even just taking a break from work to, like,
Well,
lay on
we're
the
gonna
couch
get
and
to
doom
play
scroll.
mermaids. Yeah, we're gonna get to play mermaids soon.
I know, I'm so excited.
Next
I'm
weekend.
literally getting waxed this weekend so I can play mermaids.
Wow. I can't wait to see your silky smooth vagina. Alright, we said
Literally.
we're gonna keep this short and it's
I
long.
know, I know. And on
For
that.
you
This
guys,
was
it'll be
lovely,
short because
though.
we, power of editing.
Yeah.
Bye.
This was lovely. I love talking about this.
Same.
Shout out to dead dads and dead moms and dead parents everywhere.
And to the live ones too.
Yeah,
Love
sure.
you.
Love you.
How's it going, y'all? It's Aaron. Don't let your Monday suck. Don't have those Sunday scaries. I'm tired of everybody waking up in the week saying, shit, it's Monday. You know what goes down? TMV releases every week on Mondays. Make sure you rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching YouTube, yes, TMV has a YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and ring that noti bell and never miss a thing. And also, join the TMV Familia by joining the Thoughts May Vary Patreon and by following at Thoughts May Vary Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for listening.
Great.
There you go.
Thanks, AB.
Got y'all.